In 2018, I did something that for most people is either really radical and incredible or at the other end of the extreme, totally bonkers. I moved to South Italy alone, and I moved having only visited the country twice before and not really speaking the language. Now, would I ever recommend that you follow the same steps that I did? Absolutely not. But do I think that being that brave and bold has led me to great things? Yes. But it hasn't been without its challenges. And so in today's video, I really want to uncover both the challenges and the rewards of moving abroad alone. Because I know a lot of you on this channel plan to move to Italy at some point in the future, and you may not be moving with a partner or a family. So I feel like me being very raw and vulnerable with you in this video might be able to help you in some way. So let's begin with the challenges, shall we? Now, the first challenge that I think you encounter when you move abroad on your own is loneliness. And it's interesting because not many people really talk about this. It's almost a bit of a taboo subject that, you might end up being lonely when you move abroad alone. And it's true. And the reason so, especially here in South Italy, is because Italy is a country which thrives on connections. And what you have to remember is that friendship circles typically are very tight, but not only that, people lead quite busy lives here, which means they don't have a lot of free time to dedicate to socializing or to kind of making new connections. So unless you have the opportunity to meet people through work or through, people that you get to know, like neighbors or people like this, it can be very difficult to start to build your connections here. And that is when loneliness can kick in. For me, I definitely felt the effects of loneliness once the excitement and the honeymoon phase of moving here had settled. And it was difficult. And then I had the pandemic here, which was really tough because I was miles away from my family in a totally different country, not able to leave the house. So I definitely navigated some strong feelings of loneliness at the very beginning of my journey. But what negated that was definitely the expat communities that I reached out to and connected with, especially in Salerno. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to build your community. In fact, in recent videos, I've really been highlighting the importance of community so much because it is what radically changed my experience here in South Italy. Loneliness is real. It's not some kind of fantasy that people talk about on social media for attention. It's actually a real thing. And, loneliness is a dark place to be sometimes. It can be romantic on the one hand. You're lonely, you maybe become your most creative self, you develop a side of your personality that has never surfaced before, whatever it may be. You can be quite poetic with loneliness, but there's also a dark side to loneliness as well. And I will say that it can be difficult to have the right support, especially if you're here on your own here in South Italy. So you need to work on building a community. For sure, when I started to make connections here and make friends here, my experience here changed for the better. But those first few months, that first year and a bit was really, really tough. And I know that there are going to be lots of factors that make this aspect of loneliness more prevalent when you're here on your own, like particularly language, not knowing the country very well, not knowing an area very well. But you've got to push through those because I promise you, when you start to make connections here, your experience in South Italy radically changes. The second challenge of moving abroad alone is a term called expat depression. This is actually a thing, is actually something that people experience, not just here in Italy, but whenever somebody moves to a different country, there can be feelings of depression that comes with that. And I think tied into that is the loneliness that we've just spoken about and the guilt, which we're going to talk about next, that comes with being an expat, especially when you're on your own. It's very easy to become depressed, I think, when you don't have company, when you are trying to navigate challenges with your day-to-day life, especially here in South Italy, when you are trying to figure out what you want from your new experience and your new life. And even more so if the reality that you are experiencing is not what you thought it would be. let's put it out there. When we move to another country, sometimes we do move with a bit of romanticism in our minds about what our experience is going to be like. We've seen the pictures on Instagram. We've seen other YouTubers or influencers talking about what it's like to be in Italy. And we do kind of have a bit of a hope inside of us that we're going to have the same kind of experience. But sometimes life doesn't play out that way. Sometimes we move to an area that really isn't what we thought it was going to be. Sometimes we meet people who really are not as nice as we thought they were going to be. Sometimes we have jobs and experiences here that really kind of deplete our soul and our energy. And this is the reality of life. Sometimes we realize that actually Italy is just like any other country. It's not the fairy tale we thought it was. And so that's when expat depression can kick in, for sure. You might have regret about the decision that you've made. You might have regret about the life that you're living. You might have doubts about the direction in which you're going, if you've made the right decision. Social media really amplifies this, and I have seen a lot of posts recently on social media, particularly with expats becoming even more open about what it really means to live in another country and the kind of whirlwind and mix of emotions that come into that. And a lot of emotions are centered around this feeling of, did I make the right choice? Do I have a direction with my life? Do I know where I'm going? I'm X years old. Should I really be doing this at this age? There is a lot that is centered around those aspects. And so I do think it's very easy to fall into expat depression. And it's something that you need to recognize as being a real thing and also take steps to address and really take kind of action in terms of looking after your mental health. This video up here would be what I would suggest you watch next, because it really, really dives a bit deeper into this topic and gives you some actionable tips that you can implement in your life to try to protect your mental health a bit more once you start living here. And the third challenge that I think you really face when you move abroad on your own is guilt. Guilt. This is a real thing. Guilt on so many different levels. Guilt when it comes to holiday time and the times when you maybe cannot go back home to see your family because of work or because of the flights or the transport, whatever the reason might be. Guilt in that you're not spending time with your family. Especially here in South Italy, you see how families spend a lot of time together. Sundays tend to be like family days, all the religious holiday days, all the holiday time is spent with family. And so when you know that you are not spending time with your own family and yet they are getting older back in your own country, there is a huge sense of guilt that comes with the decision to move abroad on your own. A huge sense of guilt for the missed birthdays, for the missed Christmases, for the missed Easters, for the missed memories. And I definitely go through waves of guilt living here in South Italy because I know my parents are getting older. I know that I'm missing out on a lot of things back home by living here in Italy. And it can be very easy to get sucked up in that and think that maybe you made the wrong decision. But what you have to remember is guilt can be very deceptive. Guilt can really tap into your emotions and your vulnerabilities and can really kind of make you question what you have done. However, guilt is only one side of the story. The other side of the story is the growth and the possibilities and all the rewards that come with moving abroad on your own. So, the rewards for moving abroad on your own, first and foremost, the personal growth. The personal growth is second to none. I cannot think of any other experience that you could possibly have that helps you to grow more than packing up a suitcase and deciding to live abroad on your own in another country. You learn so much about everything. You learn so much about yourself. You put yourself in situations that you've probably never experienced before in your life. So you're really going to test your personality, your strength of character, and learn more about the way that you behave and your own personality, and maybe even make some radical changes on the back of that. You're going to learn so much about another country and culture and customs, which in turn are going to teach you new ways of behaving and being, which is going to give you a different perspective of life. Like, I cannot even begin to tell you how much I've changed in the nearly 6.5 years of living here in South Italy. I don't even think I would recognize my 34-year-old self who stepped off the plane back in 2018, because I'm radically different. And it's this. And this is what I want you to hold on to when it comes to balancing out the challenges and the rewards. Because on the back of every challenge, there is a reward, there is growth. And two things can coexist at the same time. You can have pleasure, but you can also have pain. And, you know, it's not an either or situation. You're never going to live here in South Italy and have it be either 100% pleasure or 100% pain all the time. There are going to be moments where they both coexist together. And that's what I want you to hold on to, because the personal growth from the experience makes all of the challenges so worth it. I look back now and I see how I was during the pandemic. I saw how I took the kind of loneliness, the pain that I was going through at that point in my life, and I turned it into a book. I turned it into the catalyst for my growth. I started this YouTube channel. I did things that I had never thought I would ever do or had previously talked myself out of doing. I did them here in Italy. Like, there are so many things that I've done for the very first time in my life here in Italy. And I truly believe it's because I put myself in another country, in new experiences, and so far out of my comfort zone that I had no other choice but to just go for whatever it is I wanted to do and not look back. And so the personal growth is a massive reward for choosing to move abroad on your own. Sometimes when you move abroad with other people, be it a family or a partner, you can get stuck in a little bit of a bubble and your life centers around the people that you know. But when you're on your own, you don't have that luxury and you have to create something for yourself here. Otherwise, you're just not going to survive. And so that's why I think it is one of the most transformative experiences you could ever have. The second reward for moving abroad on your own is for the experience. As I've just said, by talking about the personal growth, the experience alone is immeasurably wonderful. Like, I cannot even begin to tell you how much I have learned over the course of nearly 6.5 years, and how I have viewed life in a totally different way. You learn so much by observing different cultures and learning about traditions and practices and beliefs. And wow, I never do things how I used to do them in the UK, having lived here now in Italy for all of this time. I've adopted many Italian habits and routines as part of my life, and I'm just radically different, and my life is radically different, and I don't think I'd have it any other way. The experience is really everything, and it's not just like what you do, but it's also the people that you meet. It's the kind of encounters and situations that you have here that really do shape you as a person. And so that has been a really wonderful reward for moving abroad on your own. It's something that no amount of money can buy. The skills, the resilience, the kind of way your personality is going to be built all stems from being brave enough to make such a decision. And the third reward, I would say, that really comes on the back of moving abroad on your own is the feeling of satisfaction. You know, not everybody in life will be brave enough to follow their dreams. In fact, there are many surveys that are carried out with people later on in life who have many regrets about not following their passion, their dream, and doing the thing that lit them up. And so if you are about to embark on this adventure, or you have just moved abroad on your own, you should give yourself a huge pat on your back, because you have done something that most people could only ever dream about or talk about, but will probably never ever take action on. And that should give you a whole sense of satisfaction beyond anything else, because it's satisfying when you follow your dreams. It's satisfying to do things that people said you probably couldn't do or shouldn't do, or, you know, try to dissuade you in some way. It's satisfying when you actually do it and you have beaten the naysayers and you've beaten the people that didn't support you and you've created something for yourself. It's satisfying when you take control of your life in that way and you don't let life pass you by. It's satisfying to make the most of our precious lives. It's satisfying, and there is this huge sense of satisfaction that you will feel once you've done something like this. I honestly think if you can be bold and brave enough to go and live abroad in another country on your own, there is absolutely nothing stopping you in life. Like, there are so many skills, so much growth that you will learn, develop, and encounter living here that it will be the best kind of Kickstarter for the rest of your life that you could ever ask for. If you are interested in moving abroad and you're on your own, this is the video that I suggest you watch next, just to give you some real preparation for what you can expect from your time here. I'll see you in the next video.